Hello and welcome to another, and it's been a little while, EVs and Beyond podcast and video. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're kind of recording these things in both technologies these days. Now, for the first one back, we're actually not talking about an electric car, which is probably shocking to a few of you. But of course, electric is important for a whole other range of transport. You know, in New Zealand now, we've got electric cars, we've got electric buses, we've got electric trains, we've got an electric ferry that's just gone on the water. But there's kind of one thing missing there, and that is electric planes. So our guest today is going to be one of the first operators of an electric commercial, I guess, passenger plane in New Zealand. There is a trainer already, but I'm going to bring him into the room now. It's Rhyan Wardman, the chairman and director of Sounds Air. Thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Kia ora, Richard. How are you?
Fantastic. How's level 4 going for you? Again, we're back in our bedrooms / home offices working.
Yeah. Look, I think it's it feels different this time, right? This time round, right? But indeed, for the team of Sounds Air, we hunker down and wait it out and do our bit, but we have full confidence that we'll come out of this reasonably soon, and we can get back in the air and service regional New Zealand.
Are you guys fully grounded at the moment, or are you still running some services?
Actually, 2 flights just went off about an hour ago. One was to deliver some medical supplies to Christchurch, from Blenheim to Christchurch, and the other one came across to Wellington to do some turbo washes. But yeah, essentially our airline is grounded.
Right. Can you tell us a little about Sounds Air to start? I mean, what's the history of the airline, and what kind of fleet do you currently have?
Right. So look, Sounds Air has been around for a while. It was founded 32 years ago by Cliff Marchant, and it's grown since then. And initially, our services applied the Cook Strait, so service from Picton to Wellington is how it started. And for quite a number of years, that was the case, and we flew Cessna Caravans as the aircraft of choice. And again, applying the Cook Strait, and that increased to Blenheim to Wellington, and then also Nelson to Wellington. And then we saw an opportunity. It was possibly about 7 years ago, where some of the other regional services were being vacated, and we saw an opportunity to come in with a different type of aircraft and service those sectors. So our fleet now is 4 Cessna Caravans and 6 PC-12s. So this is the Swiss-made Pilatus 9-seater. And we fly around 120,000 passengers a year. And our route network extends from Taupo in the north all the way down to Wanaka in the south. And we have about nine sectors that we service. So the company has grown, 82 staff, and then we've also got a maintenance capability, Sound Zero maintenance, and there's another 20 odd staff in there. So the business has grown considerably, and we're very excited about what comes next.
Yeah, so I mean, let's talk about this future electrification potential. I mean, let's not talk too much about the plane yet, but I mean, where did the idea come from, and where did the process start for Sounds Air to start thinking about taking to the air in electric planes?
Yeah, so we've been on this journey for about 2 years now, and effectively came out when we started thinking about where we're going to be in 5 years' time. Where did we want to be in 10 years' time? And as part of that assessment, we also looked at the technology around aviation, and we very quickly realised that there was quite an evolution happening. And I think it was a picture of the Aviation Alice that I saw that one sort of triggered this thought that, okay, things are developing here. The industry is moving on, or the aircraft propulsion systems are evolving. And not only was I taken by the futuristic look of it, but also very excited about the different propulsion system that they were anticipating being battery electric. And then probably the next image that we saw was of the Magnix Cessna Caravan, again under battery electric, that was doing some trial flights in Seattle, I think it was. And in our internal discussions was, okay, well, look, there's an evolution happening, and it's in the planes that we currently fly. And so we ought to take note and understand this better. And from there, we then quickly understood that the early adopters of this evolution in aviation were going to be the small regional operators such as ourselves. And if it was going to be like ourselves, then why isn't it us? We have the perfect network. We're in a country where by 2030 we're expected to be 100% renewable energy source. We have a customer base that will want to fly responsibly and sustainably, and we have a government who has set our targets for the climate change. So there was a lot of boxes that were ticked by not only who we were but also where we were, and so that started the journey. Yeah.
Because we're somewhere away, sadly, from seeing 150 seat electric planes flying across the Tasman, aren't we? But the technology is surprisingly close for operations like your own.
Yeah, and I think look, it's one of a number of solutions, right? It's battery electric will be appropriate for up to a certain size of aircraft and for a certain range. I don't know if we'll ever see a battery electric 150-seater. However, there are other zero-emission propulsion systems out there that are in development, such as hydrogen fuel cell, that may well be more appropriate for that larger aircraft and for those distances, and indeed is likely to be. And then, of course, in the interim, there is biofuels, sustainable aviation fuels that are also being looked at by other airlines. So there are a number of options out there. The exciting thing is we're all heading in a decarbonized path, and that's what's very exciting.
Mm-hmm. Now you guys have taken the step and essentially put in an order for a plane, or committed to some planes, I believe. And we're just going to bring a photo up here on the screen of your future aircraft. Can you tell us a little bit about this aircraft? It's a Heart Aviation plane?
Yeah, so Heart Aerospace in Sweden. This is their ES-19, so it's a 19-seater battery electric. And we started talking with Heart Aerospace about a year ago now, and signed a letter of intent, or a letter of interest. Not only does it have the zero emission requirement that we're looking for, but it also was of a configuration that was particularly appropriate for our growth. So one of the things I forgot to mention earlier is that we were also looking at what was the next size aircraft that was going to be appropriate for our operations going forward. And really what we were looking for was a 19-seater aircraft. And so, when we came across what Heart Aerospace were doing, we were, not only excited about battery electric, but also the 19-seater is an important consideration. Mm-hmm. And look, it's a really exciting aircraft. It's an exciting project. We're really impressed with the team at Heart Aerospace. They're very, obviously very passionate and committed. And indeed, what we understand, the initial specifications, or the first iteration that is slated for production, will have a range and a capability that will work very well within our operations.
Mm. So. Put a video now just of the aircraft. It's a cool looking thing, and it's interesting. I noticed from some of the material I've been pulling down about it before this that you guys aren't the only one to choose it. There's some big names that have committed to the plane.
Yeah, look, it's really exciting, isn't it? Here it is. There, the United Airlines in association or along with MESA. have selected this aircraft as being appropriate for their ambitions as well, or their short hop sectors. And for us, as a small regional operator sitting here in New Zealand, we were really excited and chuffed for the team at Hart Aerospace, but also very much encouraged that, with United Airlines behind them, this aircraft's going to get made, right? It's exciting developments, and it's not just United Airlines. Finnair, the national airline, Finland, have also made a commitment to, or some commitment to Hart Aerospace. We understand. So again, exciting, and just ensures that this is going to happen.
And I think there are quite a few indications of people who want to take it. I think they've got kind of, I hesitate to use the word orders, but requests for 200 units, I think, so far from various airlines. That's quite a lot for a first-time manufacturer, because I think Hart's built a lot of aircraft before.
Well, that's right, and look, I mean, it's going to be a challenge without a doubt, but an exciting problem to have. And I suspect, or my understanding is that Hart Aerospace will be looking for a collaborative, approach to enabling or to ensuring these aircraft do get made. I think the important thing here is that there's a good intent. There's an ambition by a number of airlines, ourselves included, to provide or to enable a decarbonised transport solution, and we expect our customers of the future to expect it, and we want to be able to supply it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's interesting that it's a startup that has done this as opposed to an existing manufacturer of aircraft? I mean, we know, as you mentioned before, Cessna has had a play with or done some research on electric aircraft, but so far the Hart in that this range seems to be the most successful as far as a demand level goes. Do you think that's specifically because it is a clean sheet, new thinking, as opposed to something that's been adapted?
Look, I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that. What I do know, or what I do understand, is that there are there's a lot of interest in this space. It's and Hart Aerospace is one of many that have embarked on this. So, Aviation, founded out of Israel, it was one of the earliest, and they're working with Magnex and developing their own iteration. Zero Avia, who were another UK-based outfit that we started talking to very early on, at the same time as Hart Aerospace. They've got some exciting developments as well around the hydrogen fuel cells and looking at conversion kits, and so there's quite a number that are out there, and indeed we did a feasibility study as part of our process or due diligence, and trying to understand what were the options out there available to us, and there is a fair few. I understand Airbus are also looking at this technology and hydrogen propulsion systems. Haringa Energy and Universal Hydrogen are also doing this. So I think there is a lot of effort, a lot of focus, and this is all positive stuff.
So how many of you indicated you're going to take? When do you expect them to arrive? And I mean, how long until perhaps the entire Sounds Air fleet has gone electric?
Yeah, so we're hoping that by 2030 that we would be able to convert our entire fleet, or indeed adopt these new electric aircraft, and then maybe look at conversion kits on our existing fleet. But look, I mean, there's quite a lot that has to be done between now and the initial slated production and by 2026, and we certainly appreciate that there's a lot of work that still has to be done. Our ambition is that we want to be one of the early adopters. When exactly that happens, we'll work alongside these technology providers and aircraft manufacturers to make that happen.
One of the things that does have to happen before that happens is infrastructure. And I will start this off with another video I showed you earlier. I'll throw
Sure.
that up now. Now this was one I spotted before. It's of people at heart working on the engine, and
Yeah,
something I
exactly.
picked up on here, and the nerds out there will see it, is that the motor, or the power unit, which has the battery within the nacelle, I think is the aviation term, just charges off a standard CCS charger. That's an ABB unit, the same as I think what you'll find outside some Audi dealers charging that. So really interesting to see that they've worked within the existing parameters of EV charging infrastructure, EV charging technology. Now, have you guys started your discussions with, I guess airports are probably going to be your landlords when it comes to these, about how and what will be available for charging?
Yeah, indeed. So, like I said, we started this sort of journey 2 years ago, and indeed one of the first that we talked to was were Wellington Airport, um, and indeed all the conversations we've had since, not only with Wellington Airport but Mercury Energy, Marlborough Lines, Blenheim Airport, Nelson Airport. They've all been very enthusiastic, and there is definitely a desire to enable this early adoption of this technology. Um, in what form or shape it takes is yet to be seen. As you said, that earlier image there, it was of a standard. Is that a 175 charger? Our understanding is that for an ES19, we would need a 1 megawatt charger. Now, of course, that's for the entire aircraft, and there's 4 nacelles. So the configuration at an airport is still yet to be, I guess, determined or clarified. But the encouraging thing for us is that the airports are enthusiastic and engaging, and as with the energy companies, as I mentioned, Marlborough Lines and Mercury Energy. So between now and when the aircraft arrives, we've got a lot of work to do. And we need to have those infrastructural solutions in place, obviously, before we can start the operation. So, but I think, as you mentioned, the ferry that was recently launched, the East-West ferry, they've got a solution in place right on the waterfront of Wellington. So it can certainly be done if there's enough of a commitment.
Yeah, I imagine you'll be watching that that rollout of that ferry quite closely, because it does very much align with the
Yeah.
requirements that your plane has.
Well, and indeed, the team behind that, we talked to them very early on in our journey as well, and some of their learnings they've passed on, and some really good collaborative efforts there to enable a similar thing to happen for aircraft as what's happened with the ferry.
Now, Hart I don't think they've released particularly specific horsepower numbers or battery size numbers, but have you got any ideas of how long a charge will take for the aircraft?
Yeah, so our understanding is that it's 45-minute charge time, and indeed that was an important consideration. The way that an airline operates, or indeed how an airport operates, can't be considerably changed by this new technology. So, the 45-minute charge time is what we understand it to be, and that will be absolutely fine for our operations. There's plenty of time between turnaround. We also understand that the aircraft will have the initial aircraft will have a 400-kilometer range, so allowing for contingencies and alternates. That works extremely well within the short hop sectors that we fly. So again, a tick for that. My understanding is that the initial, the first iteration of this aircraft will have a battery power density, as it were, of 300 megawatt per kilogram. And again,
300 watt hours per kilogram, I think, is what you're after there.
Oh, I beg your pardon, 300 watt hours per kilogram. And that's what gives it the 400-kilometer range. We understand that battery technology will improve over time, and that's likely to increase to 500 watt hours per kilogram by 2030. And in that iteration, that will give it a range that will cover all the sectors that we fly. So again, that's why we're looking at, by 2030, when the battery technology is to such a point where all our sectors can be flown, we would then be looking for a full electric fleet.
Yeah. This all sounds expensive. What's the project? Got a rough idea of a project cost of this? I mean, what's one of these planes worth, and how is this going to be funded?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's commercially sensitive information, but I'm certainly not going to disclose that. Look, I think there is a lot of interest in this space. There is a lot of enthusiasm to decarbonize transport. Funding for this type of technology, or the incorporation of technology, we don't see as a challenge, and we haven't anticipated, we haven't seen this as a problem to date. So, look, we think if there's enough of a will and enough of support, the funding will be fine. But indeed, what I can say about these electric aircraft is that the acquisition costs were not too dissimilar to what's currently available. So they are on par. But what makes them very compelling and almost a no-brainer is the maintenance and operating costs. They are considerably lower, and also the inherent simplicity of the electric motor as compared to the gas turbine is also a massive consideration. An electric motor overhaul is every 20,000 hours. For a gas turbine, it's every 7,000 hours. The cost of a new gas turbine equivalent is about $1 million, where for the electric motor, it's $50,000. Wow. Likewise, the overhaul costs. The overhaul of a gas turbine is about $1 million, and it's about, I think it's 10,000 for the electric motor. So there's just it's such a compelling argument in terms of economics for the utilization or the engaging or embracing of electric motors.
Yeah. Are you hoping the government will come to the party and assist with this project as well? I mean, you're looking to them for any funding towards either the vehicle, the aircraft, or the infrastructure. The government has been, fairly prominent through their various funds and funding other electric transport options, such as relatively small amounts of assistance with the ferry, but assistance in trucking fleet rolls out and so on and so forth. Is that something you'll be asking for, or something you'll be hopping on one of your aircraft to Wellington to knock on some doors for?
So at this stage, no, we're not seeking government support. But what the government through ECA, so the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Authority, where they have been really helpful is in terms of the feasibility study that we undertaken. So they co-funded that feasibility study. There are more studies that need to happen, or more assessments that need to happen in terms of small regional airport conversions from what they currently do to electric or hydrogen or a combination. And in terms of upskilling and training, that there's an opportunity there through Robinson Research Institute and Massey School of Aviation. And again, that could be a study or an assessment that could be supported by government to fully understand and unlock that potential. Another area where I think government support is going to be very important in terms of the Civil Aviation Authority, and ensuring that they are resourced enough to be able to be proactive in this evolution of aviation around the regulatory environment and the certification of these new type of aircraft. It would be unfortunate if the infrastructure was put in place, the aircraft was brought in, and then only then did the certification process only start then. But so we would like government's involvement through the CAA and the Ministry of Transport to a proactive engagement.
Yeah. Is there much of a difference for the pilot in flying one of these, or is it, what's the learning curve expected to be like shifting from an equivalent 19-seat avgas or jet fuel powered aircraft through to one of these electric powered ones?
Yeah, look, I would imagine there is a bit of retraining that's going to be required. So one, consider the weight. A conventional aircraft gets lighter as it travels from point A to point B, as it utilizes the fuel. A battery electric stays the same weight. So indeed, the takeoff and landing characteristics are going to be different with a battery electric as opposed to conventional. Um, Understanding the energy source is different from from fuel as opposed to battery. So good appreciation of that and understanding of that energy source is a consideration. So look, there is no doubt that this new type of aircraft will require pilots to understand the subtle differences.
Mm-hmm. We'll move on, I think, next to what the customers can expect, and we'll play this video now. And I think this is a really telling one to the whole project, and that's the engine doing a run up. And for those on the podcast, it can be great because you better hear it. Doesn't matter if you can't see it. So we'll pop this up now. But essentially, what we're looking at is the engine, and in a minute they're going to wheel it outside onto a test rig, and fire it up. And sounds like that noise in the background at the moment. It's just someone flying past. So we'll listen to the sound of this motor rather than engine.
All power.
That's full power now, I think. It's just not particularly noisy, is it? It's just a giant bathroom fan.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that extraordinary? That's amazing.
So I mean, and passengers alike, I imagine.
So sorry, Richard, you just cut out there.
It's saying that what difference does that lower sound footprint of the aircraft make? I mean, that's going to be a less taxing experience, I guess, for the crew and the passengers, because some of those smaller aircraft could be rather noisy.
Yeah, indeed, and I think well, look, I mean, this is what's exciting, isn't it? The passenger experience we're anticipating to be very different, and I think it will become a little bit like when you get into your electric car. It's your immediate impression is how quiet it is, and we're anticipating that on the taxi. For some passengers, they might not even be aware that it's moving. And indeed, on the cruise and upon descent, it will be a very, very different experience to what we currently have, and I think an altogether more pleasant experience. So yeah,
you're looking for you jump into an ATR and they fire up the engines. You get that kind of whiff of kerosene through the air conditioning. Having that gone will be rather pleasant, I imagine.
I think so. But a good example is the Pipistrel. Electric Air have brought in the two-seater fully electric, and that's incredibly quiet. Watching that fly, and so yeah, we look forward to seeing this aircraft and having that experience. So
yeah, it is as urban density gets tighter around airports. Is having quieter aircraft important to the ability for airports to stay close to city centres and so forth?
Oh, look, absolutely. And actually, one of our most recent sectors that we've started flying is between Christchurch and Wanaka. And for the Wanaka community, in particular, the noise of the local airport was a consideration in terms of embracing our aircraft and our service that we put in there. It's because for them they just didn't want jets coming in and out of that airport, and I think that's going to become more and more a consideration for airline operators, that noise for the surrounding community is an important consideration. And indeed, if you with the electric aircraft, will be something that you can comply to and can enable that coexistence.
Yeah, look, fantastic. Look, thank you so much for giving us your time today, Ryan. I think this project's very exciting, and I can't wait to pop down and fly on one in 4.5, 5 years' time, all going well. And I think the whole electric future in aviation is so exciting, and I'm sure it is for you guys.
Yeah. Hey, look, thank you, Richard. Thank you for your time. And yeah, look, we're as you know, the Sounds Air team are really excited about this. And but yeah, we've only just started, and the hard work starts now. There's a lot that needs to be done between now and when that aircraft arrives.
Fantastic. Look, thank you everyone for listening or watching this, depending on where you're seeing it. Don't forget to like this episode, subscribe, or for more great news, head over to eviesandbeyond.co.nz. There'll be a version of this interview in story form with some great images and other information there in the September issue. Thank you so much.